This lesson will be on 10-1, use conjugates to rationalize the denominator. In 10-1, this is the second half of the lesson. So we're starting on example number 5. In example number 5, we have 2 divided by 6 minus radical 3. Now, when we're simplifying a radical, we know that we cannot have the square root of a number in the denominator. So what we need to do is rationalize the denominator. But in this particular example, we don't just have a radical 3 in the denominator, we have 6 minus radical 3. So we have to use a process called rationalizing the denominator. Remember that when we did multiplying binomials, if we were given something like x minus 2 times x plus 2, the product of this would be x squared plus 2x minus 2x minus 4. And our middle terms would cross off. Well, we need to take this expression in our denominator and multiply it by the conjugate. Conjugates are the same term but with opposite signs. So we need to multiply the bottom, our denominator, by 6 plus radical 3. By doing this, so if I do this off to the side, by doing this, our middle terms will cross off and we won't have any more radicals in our denominator. So 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times radical 3 will be 6 radical 3. Radical 3 times 6, or a negative 1 radical 3 times 6, will give us a negative 6 radical 3. And then radical 3 times radical 3, and this one being a negative radical 3, we'll be left with minus 3. What ends up happening is in the middle, our middle terms are a positive 6 radical 3 and a negative 6 radical 3. They will always cross off and we'll be left with our first term of 36 and our last term of negative 3. 36 minus 3 is 33. So on the bottom of our fraction, we've gotten rid of all of the radicals. That's rationalizing the denominator. We'll have 36 minus 3, which we said was 33. But remember, whenever we take a fraction and we multiply part of our fraction by something, in order to keep the value of our fraction the same, we do have to take our numerator and multiply it by the same thing. So in the numerator, we'll be multiplying by 6 plus radical 3. So we're multiplying the top and the bottom of our fraction by the exact same thing, so it has the same value that it had. So 2 times 6, do this in purple again, 2 times 6 is 12. 2 times radical 3 is 2 radical 3. We would then see if we could factor and solve or simplify. Since 12, 2, and 33 are not all divisible by the same number, this is our final answer. 12 plus 2 radical 3 over 33. In our next example, 5a, we'll be simplifying the radical expression 3 divided by 2 plus radical 2 by rationalizing our denominator. So we'll be multiplying both our numerator and our denominator by the expression 2 minus radical 2. In our numerator, we'll have 3 times 2, which is 6. Then we'll have 3 times a negative 1 radical 2, which will give us a negative 3 radical 2. In our denominator, we'll have 2 times 2, which is 4. Then we'll have 2 times negative 1 radical 2, which will give us a negative 2 radical 2. Next, we'll multiply radical 2 times 2, which will give us a positive 2 radical 2. Next, we'll multiply radical 2 times negative radical 2, which will give us a negative radical 4. However, negative radical 4, the square root of 4 is 2. So we have a negative radical 2 here and a positive 2 radical 2 here. These two terms cross off, a negative 2 radical 2 and a positive 2 radical 2. And we're left with 4 minus 2. 4 minus 2 is 2. So in our denominator, we have 2. And this will be our final answer. In our next example, 5b, we'll be simplifying the radical expression 7 divided by 3 minus radical 7 by rationalizing the denominator. So we'll be multiplying both our numerator and our denominator by the same expression. We'll be multiplying them by 3 plus, remember this has to be the same expression but opposite signs as the bottom, so 3 plus radical 7. Both the numerator and the denominator get multiplied by that. So in our numerator, on top of our fraction, we'll have 7 times 3, which is 21. Then we'll have 7 times radical 7, which will give us 7 radical 7. On the bottom, we'll have to do our distributive property. So 3 times 3 will give us 9. 3 times radical 7 will give us a positive 3 radical 7. Negative radical 7 times 3 will give us plus 3. Will give us minus 3 radical 7. And negative radical 7 times positive radical 7 will give us a negative radical 49. The square root of 49 is 7, so let's just change that right now to a 7. And then we'll combine our middle terms, 3 radical 7 and a negative 3 radical 7 cross off, and we're left with 9 minus 7, which is 2. This gives us our final answer as 21 plus 7 radical 7 over 2.